Brutally honest truths about 3D careers. Everyone loves the idea of working in 3D, but here are the brutal truths no one tells you before you step into this career. What we will talk about, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to expect in a 3D career, so you can decide if the path is really for you. Who am I? About me, my name is Dwayne Elahie. I'm a CG Supervisor. I've been in the industry for 20 plus years, been mentoring for 15 plus years, hundreds of the people I've mentored, now working in the industry with a 70K plus annual salary. I've been at these places: EA, Electronic Arts, ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks, ImageWorks. We haven't met yet, but you've met my work. You could check out my IMDb page and you'll see the different projects I've worked on, such as the Netflix The Witcher, and as well as the Hunger Games over here, and James Cameron's The Avatar. I've been the CG rigging supervisor for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, TMNT, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs franchise. You may have seen these films and TV shows: K-pop Demon Hunters, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And a lot of the tools I've built and workflows are still being used today. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem as a CG rigging supervisor. I've worked on Netflix The Witcher, Disney's Plus, Secret Invasion, and as well as many other Marvel projects. I was on the first Iron Man project franchise, James Cameron's Avatar, The Hunger Games. So let's get into the brutal truths. The first one: long hours and tight deadlines. So studios push very hard, you trade production crunch time, your weekends and your nights, which people don't, it's kind of like expected in this industry, mainly because unlike, I was having this conversation with someone who works in supply chain, and it's basically a pipeline. A lot of studios, or a lot of work, not necessarily studios, a lot of disciplines have different pipelines and how things are done. You go from one department to another. And I was explaining, when you work in 3D, whether in games or films or anything like that, it's a creative process. So even though you finish something, the director might change something, or because of they did a review, either a beta test for the game or did a focus group for a film, and they got feedback from the audience and like, oh, we have to change. And they went back, and you have to work long nights and weekends to make that change. And it's imperative. I've seen many times where you could say, okay, I'm not going to work long nights or weekends. Okay, but if you don't make this deadline, the project is dead. Literally, you don't meet your milestones, and you don't get funding anymore to fund the project. So yeah, it is pretty important for it. I give an example. If you're into the FGC or the fighting game community, currently there's a Marvel Tokon coming out next year, and also 2XKO. It's another fighting game that's supposed to come out this year, I believe. And the thing about it, 2XKO has been talking about it for years, how they're going to release their game and then showing and whatnot. However, Marvel Tokon was kind of announced out of the blue not too long ago, just a few months ago. And this past weekend, they already had, not this weekend, the weekend before, they already had a beta test for the weekend, right? And not too long afterwards, 2XKO released a beta for their game. Now, was it actually planned? I don't know, but the optics, the way it looks right now, is that if you know 2XKO, it does look like it plays kind of like an anime fighter game, and Marvel Tokon is similar in its realm, so it's thought of as like a competition. At least the industry thought of it like that. And if you look at that, I'm not sure if it was in their plans, but 2XKO looked like it was a response to Marvel Tokon for it not to steal its thunder. Would that be, if it is a response, I can't confirm that because I'm not on the team or anything like that. But if it is a response, that probably what did trigger people working long nights and weekends to make sure they hit that deadline, because if they don't, they will lose to their competition. and the game won't do well and the team won't do well and it jeopardizes the franchise in the future. It's a real thing you have to deal with. It's not just come into work and we just have fun. There's actual real pressures of the industry and what's going on, and you have to respond to that. So number 2, talent isn't enough. Just because you're really good, and I made earlier videos and I talk about this, just because I do mention, yes, if you're starting out, you want to put your work out there, and one of the most prominent places is ArtStation and putting your things out on Instagram. But the fact it's something that you needed to build your brand, but just because you're putting on ArtStation or just because you put it on Instagram and don't just posting it without any context, without any follow-up, it doesn't guarantee you a job, right? It doesn't, no matter how talented you are, you still have to network. You still have to be consistent with it. You have to build a reputation to be known for this, right? And all these things matter just as much as your skill. And number 3, it's not always glamorous. You spend more time in the industry. A lot of times, okay, when you see it, you always see when they advertise or the highlights, people see the big names and the fancy shots or the really cool looking characters or environment or whatever you're into. If you're into effects, whatever you're into, that's what you imagine, right? But most of the time, a lot of times you're fixing problems, polishing details. So you have dailies or reviews every single day where the team or the art lead, the director, whoever is looking at it, the art director, whatnot, will go in and every day in a daily nitpick at the things that need to be fixed. And you're just doing the same thing over and over and over, different iterations, or a new note comes in. The client doesn't like this, or we did a focus group and the audience didn't like this, or you done a beta test and we have to go change things. So you just keep polishing detail. An example of this is Sonic the Hedgehog. When the first movie came out, people didn't like the look, so they had to go back and fix it. They already did the work, but now they have to go back and fix it. Same thing with the Hulk in the first and second movies in the early 2000s. People didn't like how he looked too puffy. So you have to go back and fix the details until it's dialed in and people resonate with it, right? You spend more time doing all these things than doing creative shots or all the things you could imagine, right? I actually have a case, and use case here, an example here over the weekend. So one thing I mentioned before where, before I mentioned here, I say I mentor for 15 plus years and hundreds of people. So every year I do have it take live one-on-one or in person, I would say, interns to train them and also make connections to get them in the industry if I can as well. Well, mainly find out if certain companies from my networking in industry and see if they're looking for interns, and then find out what the tasks they're looking for or what skill sets they're looking for the interns, train them, make sure they're trained on that and bring them in. It's actually the same training I give in my course as well, but it's the same training. Just do it in IRL, real life, right? And because these people are actually focused on it, that's their main priority. So they do everything in a condensed amount of time. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I always get the same questions where I am saying, okay, this company is looking for this specifically, so we're going to train for this specifically, and then show your portfolio, explain what you've done, and showcase your ability, how you can work with their pipeline. A lot of times, the first feedback I get from them is, okay, that's nice, but this is what I actually like to do, right? Now, that's great, right? If as an artist, you want to express yourself or whatnot, but if you're trying to get a job, you don't always get your creative shots that you want to do. Your main thing is you want to get in the door and show that you're able to do what's needed to be done. And especially when you're starting out, like for example, now a lot of these projects that I work on, because I've worked in the industry for many years, I usually get approached. I don't necessarily apply for things. I get approached by either this is why it's very important to network. I'm either recommended by people I've worked with or at projects I've worked on before, but it didn't start off like that at all. In fact, at the beginning, when I started, all I was told is I would actually express, okay, this is what I can do, I want to do. And they're like, that's nice. This is what we need you to do, right? And they wouldn't listen to you, especially if you haven't proven yourself yet, right? So my suggestion for that is that you're not going to get the glamour shots at the beginning. In fact, working on certain of these projects, I'm trying to see an example. Well, working at Sony ImageWorks here, for example, there is one guy specifically that always, when we did Marvel projects, like the Spider-Man projects, like the Andrew Garfield version, for example, or any of them during the MCU days when Marvel's making all their movies, there was one guy specifically that did all the hero shots, mainly because, and that's all he did, because the way it was designed, you not only have to create the character, you have to create all the correctives and make sure they worked in every scenario, technically and artistically, and all the iterations, and that takes months to do. Again, the polishing details part, you think, oh, isn't it just you build it one time, you build it? No, there's a lot of details that go shot by shot, literally frame by frame, and they have to fix everything. There's one guy who's done it because he's proven he does it. So if you think a junior thinks they're going to come on into the project and you're going to get the hero shot, that is not realistic. Is not impossible for you to do it, but you have to work your way up to it. And like I said, when I started out, when I came in, it was pretty much, these are the things these are the problems you need to get fixed, fix them. And because I haven't proven myself yet at the beginning, even when I mentioned this is what I would like to do, they wouldn't listen. So my way of how I got around that and how to move up is that you have to be proactive. You cannot, like I mentioned here before, talented isn't enough, right? You have to be consistent and you have to have the reputation of things. I would make sure that you consistently do all the work that they're asking you, the fixes, the polishes, and you have your reputation. Okay, you could get the job done. But on my own time, I went and did extra things that I wanted to do or want to prove that I'm capable of doing in the production. But the thing is, because I'm actually working in the industry now, I have an audience, for at least to them to listen to me after I did all the work they asked for. And then I would do that, and then I would either show the lead or show someone of prominence that what I want to do and how to make it better. And eventually they started listening to my ideas. But you have to make sure you did all the work first, fixing all the polishing the details. And then once you prove that, they might give you some chance to do some more of the creative shots. And if you land those, you get more of your chance. But it's not glamorous. It's not always glamorous. The other thing is, you might not always get glamorous shots in the first place or projects. It's just, that's the nature of the industry, right? So just be aware of that. Quick heads up for all you 3D artists watching this. If you've been grinding away at tutorials and YouTube videos but still feel stuck, I've got something special for you. I'm hosting a 3D character rapid bootcamp workshop where I'll walk you step by step through the exact skills studios actually hire for. It's not theory. This is the stuff that got me hired and working in the industry. If you want to finally build a portfolio that gets callbacks and interviews, hit the link below and grab your spot. Seats are limited, so if you're serious about going pro, this is your chance. So now to recap, the 3D career is rewarding, but it's not all art and fun. It's long hours. There's a lot of politics, which I haven't even got into that. But there's definitely a lot of that. And mostly it's problem solving. That's why just having your stuff on ArtStation, which I mentioned in other videos, is not enough to get you a job. You have to be able to prove that you're able to problem solve, right? And when you're getting into the industry, just get in any way you can. Do all the tasks you need to do for them to actually believe you and you get a good reputation. Then you could start showing and try to be more proactive to push towards things you actually want to do, right? And the thing is, I think this is kind of like a rite of passage, because regardless of the things you want to do, you have to be able to endure all these things, because only the ones who are prepared for this are able to last. And if you are, then you can start getting towards more of the, the art and the fun stuff. If you want to hear more about how to survive and then as well, more importantly, thrive in this industry, check out my other videos about building a portfolio, how to land your first role, and other tips and tricks to be aware of. And bonus tip, always be learning. Learn new tools, learn new workflows as well. Don't be afraid of change. This industry is always changing. I mean, every industry is, but especially this one. It's even built into it. Whatever software you're using, for example, Maya, ZBrush, in the industry, or even Blender, all the free tools, literally every 2-3 months there's a new version that comes out, and just those tools alone. And then if you add things like AI to it, whether you like it or not, it's here. You have to learn them. And if you want to survive, I mean, if you're just going to be an artist and put things and do it for yourself, that's fine. But if you want to actually have a career, you have to be aware of these things. There's a reason why, let's say, Hollywood movies or AAA games consistently do well and make a lot of money, which means that if you work on those projects, you could have a very lucrative career. But if you want to do more artwork, and which is fine, that's fine, but also understand historically, independent games, independent movies, they don't do well financially at all, which means that people who do them don't really make much money for it. But again, if you're doing it for the art, that's another story. But if you want to make a career of it, you have to be aware of this, right? New workflows, new tools are always being used to make more of what works faster, better. And the fastest way to stay relevant is to keep evolving, to keep up with that if this is what you want to do, if you want to make a career out of this. And the biggest mistake to avoid, don't assume passion alone will carry you through. Again, I was mentioning, independent games, independent movies. If you're doing it for passion and you just want to express yourself, okay, that's fine, right? But also understand even that has costs, right? And if you're not aware of all the other things that are needed, then you're not going to get by, right? You need a strategy, you need resilience to be able to last in this industry. It's not all gumdrops and roses, right? So it's a lot of hard work and resilience, and you have to know what you're getting into before you get into it. So what are your thoughts? Share your comments below.